Today, we're going to talk about how comprehensive financial advisors are selling and working with more annuities than ever before because it's a staging asset and it frees up the opportunities to gather all the assets under management.
This is The Rare Advisor, proud to be a part of the Advisor Advancement Network and home of a business model supercharged by recurring and repeatable events. Your host is Mike Walters, CEO of USA Financial. He is an investment advisor representative of and securities are offered through USA Financial Securities, member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor.
Many advisors have never heard of staging assets. Now, staging assets are kind of a step between your commissionable or your transactional type of transactions versus your AUM, your fee, your recurring revenue type transactions. These staging assets or staging transactions, what they really do is they sometimes provide you with true recurring revenue depending upon the vehicle that you use. But more importantly, they stage you to get all of the AUM, all of the rest of the portfolio that then therefore generates recurring revenue. So again, if you want to get a hold of the Advisor's 12-Step Reset, go to 12stepreset.com. But with that being said, I'm jumping right into things today. So here's the deal. Fixed index annuities can be perfectly married together as staging assets. So if you are operating on the 4% rule, if you, the 4% rule, by the way, being where you're just peeling off 4% off the top of the bucket of assets with the idea that interest, dividends, growth, and so on will support that. If you're living or managing off the 4% rule, first of all, pretty bad idea. This will help you. If you are operating with bond portfolios and doing the 60-40 and various other things, I think this will also help you. The fixed index annuities, however, are really there in this particular instance to drive the income during retirement. So let's say, for example, you have someone, in fact, this kind of fits to my previous video. So if you go back to the video just prior to this one, you'll see where I get into a similar concept, but for a very different reason. But in terms of how we show a before and an after view of a portfolio and use that to gather the assets by solving the retirement income problem. Now here, what we're showing, if you're looking at this green arrow area right up here, we're showing this is a view from the asset cycle portfolio system, just one small graphic that we use inside of that system. And by the way, if you're not familiar with the asset cycle portfolio system, that's another thing you need to look into. But again, that's not why we're here today. So what we're doing is this first account, this first asset right up here in the top, labeled as A. A is there to provide the first 5 years of retirement income. So let's assume these people are 5 years away from retirement right now. That first account, we're going to stage it right now so that it's going to sit in deferral for 5 years. And then 5 years from now, they're going to trigger out 5 years worth of income. And it's going to pull those first 5 years of retirement income. Then account B is going to pull the second 5 years of retirement income. So that will be a total of 10 years between those two. And it's starting 5 years in the future. So 5 years from now, they retire. The first 5 years gets triggered. After the first 5 years is depleted, the second 5 years gets triggered. So essentially, we're now 15 years into the future, right? So 5 years deferral, 5 years income, another 5 years income. And then C, account C right down here, that's going to take them through the next subsequent 10 years of retirement income. So again, 5 plus 5 plus 10, I've got a total of 20 years of income spanned over 25 years from the moment I met them, because I'm assuming they're 5 years away from retirement. So by simply taking a portion of the portfolio right up here and designating it up front with these staging assets, staging for their ultimate retirement income. And I like to use guaranteed vehicles. That's why I prefer the fixed index annuities, because I want to lock in and know exactly what's happening there. I've just given myself, in this example, 25 years as a financial advisor to then take over all the rest of their equity portfolio. Now, if I can't make that thing stand up and sing over a 25-year period, I've got some real problems. But what I've done, both for me and for the investor, is I have put essentially time on their side. So here, this is just the S&P 500, just to give you a quick example. This is about 26, 27 years, I guess, going back to 97 through up to year 23. And here's some 10-year blocks. But I mean, if you give me 25 years, I pretty much can't help but win. Now, if you block that down, like here's the lost decade, right? If somebody retired right here and then they needed, or it came to you right here, and then they needed to retire and draw income right here, that's a tough conversation. This is why we like risk managed vehicles, because we can flatten out some of these troughs and we can try to essentially eliminate that 10-year loss or that lost decade that's taken place. But even still, if I've got 25 years in my time, you can't find a period of time in the history of the stock market that you would not look good over a 25-year period. So buying time to get the rest of the portfolio and then to be able to invest it wisely and accordingly for long-term growth, I can only do that if I start first with staging assets. And personally, I would recommend using fixed index annuities for that section A, B, and C that you're looking at on the screen right now.
This information is for licensed financial professionals only and is not intended for use in soliciting sales from the public. The views expressed represent the opinions of the presenter or their featured guest, not necessarily those of USA Financial or its affiliated subsidiaries. Industry references are generic and not intended to represent actions or beliefs of any individual or entity. Content is only presented to illustrate general principles, beliefs, or ideas and should not be construed as legal or regulatory advice. Trademark and copyright protected. USA Financial and Affiliates.